All right, folks, just after 6:30 on this Saturday evening, William Cole here in the Forecast Center and continuing to track severe weather across Oklahoma. And in fact, we continue with the severe thunderstorm watch in effect. Counties in blue, a good portion of west central, north central Oklahoma. It does not include the Oklahoma City metro. But again, if you're in those blue counties, an opportunity for severe weather again as we head into the evening. And well, there is some severe weather out there currently. Northeastern Oklahoma, Osage, Washington County, severe thunderstorm warnings there. Woods, Woodward, and Major County up in northwestern Oklahoma, severe thunderstorm warnings there. Then Jackson and Tillman County down across portions of southwestern Oklahoma. And also there continues to be a flash flood warning in effect for Harmon County. That is down in southwestern Oklahoma as well. So let's go and take a look at this, see what's going on out there. Mesoscan radar here first of all, and again you can see this, we'll kind of call this a broken area. We have an area up here across portions of northeastern Oklahoma with severe weather, scattered thunderstorm activity in north central Oklahoma, a fairly mean supercell across portions of northwestern Oklahoma. We'll look at that, and then scattered activity now still in southwestern Oklahoma. So what I want to do, I want to zoom in here first of all, and again we'll go and check in with our team of trackers coming up here momentarily as well. But this cell up here in Major County, again right now it's in a fairly open area, far western Major County. It gets fairly rural. Orion would be right down here. That's essentially almost the only hometown in western Major County. But again, this is a supercell here, and this is producing some fairly large hail. In fact, hail sizes with this specific core could be as large as a tennis ball. So again, this cell right here definitely means business. It's had an area of broad rotation with it as well. We've been tracking that carefully, and in general, it's tracking over here towards the Fairview and, well, eventually towards the Lahoma area. Again, if it does hold together, but right now this specific cell not really showing any signs of weakening at all. And in fact, severe thunderstorm warning continues there on it. As we take a look at the hail core tracker, again, where you see the reds going to pinks, again, that is where the hail core is. But again, you can see it is in that rural area there between Highway 60 and 412. There's really not much there at all, again, between Orion and Fairview. But so it's out in an open area, but in general, that hail core is tracking towards the Fairview area. So you folks there in Fairview, heads up on this storm. It will do some damage, again, if it holds its intensity as it does move towards your area. So we got to track this one here carefully. Let's go and zoom this out, because there are additional storms around the state. In fact, over here in Woodward County, over here really just southeast of the Sharon area, back over here towards Mutual, this is a hailstorm here as well. It's up here around Highway 183. There's an opportunity for some golf ball size hail. Again, where you see that pink hail core, golf balls possible there moving towards the Mutual area. So again, you folks there, also back over towards Sealing eventually, again, if this storm does hold together, even Chester there as well. Again, if the storm does hold its current intensity, those would be the locations that could potentially be impacted by that activity there. And then as we kind of zoom this out, let's go into central Oklahoma. And we'll just kind of pull this a little bit further over to the east. Enid, there's currently a heavy thunderstorm, non-severe, directly over the Enid area. And in fact, one of our storm trackers, Mike Russ, is actually literally driving through that storm right now. In fact, let's go and take a look at his live video. And again, he is in the Enid area. That's what it looks like right now around the Enid area. He's right there at Highway 81 and 412. Hey, Mike, you're on the live line with us while we're kind of doing a radar tour. We'll go and stop and take a look at your video. I know eventually you're heading over towards that storm there in Major County, the one that's currently producing the large hail. But as you're driving through Enid right now, this storm currently non-severe, but still quite heavy. Go ahead and give us an update on this Enid storm.
Yes, William, that is correct. We have just come into the Enid area. We're about to make a left on 412 here in just a couple of minutes. But this thunderstorm here in the Enid area, we do believe there might be some small hail involved in it. We could definitely see the white curtain from a distance earlier. We haven't seen any evidence of it yet, but this is a heavy rainstorm. We can tell you that, and it does have frequent lightning, William.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And in fact, that storm right there just went severe as well. The National Weather Service just issued a warning on that storm there in the Enid area, and it's going to be for some quarter-size hail and winds to 60 miles per hour. But again, severe thunderstorm warning there until 7:30 this evening. So for our friends there in Enid, also around the Vance Air Force Base area, again, severe thunderstorm warning there, quarter-size hail and winds to 60 miles per hour. Also locally heavy rain, and again, we're seeing that right there in Mike's shot as well. So we're going to come back to the trackers coming up here momentarily. I want to go back to radar. and we can keep kind of doing our radar tour here. Logan County, north of Guthrie, there's a heavy cell there as well. Again, that is not severe, but an opportunity for some small hail, and again, an opportunity for some winds to near 50 miles per hour could be possible. Back over towards Bartlesville, there is a severe thunderstorm warning there for portions of northern Washington County. There's an opportunity for some ping pong ball size hail. That's going to be primarily now north of the Bartlesville area, but you folks up in that, again, part of the state, northeastern Oklahoma, Washington County specifically, heads up, that is a hailstorm there, and it does continue to track off towards the northeast. Let's also go and take a look down here in southwestern Oklahoma. Let me go and zoom in here. And this is kind of a messy look down here in southwestern Oklahoma. Right now, there continues to be one severe thunderstorm warning down here. This is for Jackson County. It does include Altus, the Altus Air Force Base area. And for you folks down in this part of the state, this is maybe like round 3 today. We've had basically 3 severe storms move through just this general part of the state. They pretty much weakened as soon as they've moved through here, but activity continues to regenerate and again move back through. Again, you see those flash flood warnings there from all the locally heavy rain we saw earlier today. And again, that locally heavy rain does continue down here. Again, Jackson County here, and then even Tillman County back over here, Frederick and hometowns like Tipton. But at least right now, the locations that are under the gun, it's primarily the Altus area, and then even back over here towards the El Dorado area. That's going to be there in far western Jackson County. You see that locally heavy rain there, and also that opportunity for a hail core where you're seeing the brighter reds there as well. So again, for our friends down here in southwestern Oklahoma, we'll continue to track that as well. But right now, I think really the most severe storm currently in Oklahoma, and the one we've really got our eyes on, it's this one up here, still in Major County. And it still continues with broad rotation, but I'm telling you, this hail, we're really lucky right now that this storm is essentially over open farming and open land. I mean, you can never say for sure that there's no homes in this specific area, but it gets really rural, again, between Orion and between Fairview, Major County here. But again, this is a rotating storm here. No immediate tornado threat, may not even pose a tornado threat through its life cycle, but there is some mid-level rotation, and it is really maximizing that hail core. Again, you see the blacks and the whites, and after that, there's no additional colors on the radar. So again, this is a big-time hailstorm here. Let's go back to the hail core tracker, and as we go back to the hail core tracker, and yeah, there it is right there again, where you're seeing the pinks going to whites. Again, this is a strong indication that we could easily have you know, some near tennis ball size hail. So pinks, whites, grays, and again, there's no additional colors. That's it. So the radar is maxed out there. And so again, this hail core in general, it is tracking towards the east and towards the northeast. But again, Fairview, Helena, again, some of those hometowns over here, fairly rural, Major County, Fairview being the county seat, Cleo Springs up there to the north. Again, you folks heads up on this. This will be tracking towards Highway 412. And of course, Mike Russ, like I mentioned, he is coming in there on Highway 412 towards Major County. We're going to check his video again coming up here momentarily. Let me do this as well. Let's go back to velocities real quick here. And what we're going to do while I'm doing this, we're going to go back to Mike's video. I'm actually going to switch the radar source around here, and because I want to go back up here to the Vance Air Force Base NEXRAD site and just kind of get a closer look. We're currently looking at this from the Oklahoma City radar. We're going to get a zoomed in view of this storm because again, there has been some broad rotation from time to time. So we're going to check that again momentarily. While I'm doing that, we're looking at Enid. Severe thunderstorm warning there in Enid, quarter size hail and winds to 60 miles per hour. Mike Russ is driving right through the core of that. Mike, your video is up and you're on the live line. Go ahead and give us a live update there for the Enid area.
Oh, no. Yes, William. I'm zooming in on this cart here. We do have hail now here in the Enid area. We've got localized flooding as well. This is a fairly intense storm. But right now, our hail sizes are not very impressive at this time. Or what we're seeing, we're getting about P to maybe dime at times here. But this is a very heavy rainmaker here in the Enid area, William. Again, localized street flooding. We just made our left onto 412, so we can head back to the Fairview area here so we can get on that other Supercell. But this is a very heavy storm coming through Enid right now. We've seen a lot of the ditches are full here. And again, we're receiving some P to maybe dime size at time hailstones here on our truck, William.
Okay, Mike, really appreciate that update. And again, we can hear the hailstones there in the background. How big is the hail? Would you still estimate right around quarter-size hail, or what would you estimate? We're going to go look at this other cell momentarily. This other cell in Major County, I'm telling you what, is ramped up. But Mike, as you're, again, driving through Enid, again, this is important information here for our friends in Enid. Again, what are you, as you're driving really through the hail course, so to speak, what size of hail? Is it quarter-size hail, or what are you getting there?
What we can confirm, William, was C and dime size. That's all we can really confirm where we're at. Now, this is the 412 and 81 junction that we were at, and actually may have just gone up to nickel size, striking the truck every now and then. But again, we're not seeing the quarter at this time, but there is hail in this storm, William.
Okay, really appreciate that update, Mike. We're going from Enid, we're going back to Major County here. And so this storm, I'm telling you what, folks, it still has my attention, and it's really ramped up. And in fact, this is really the most intense it's been all day. I'm zooming out the radar just so you can see where we're talking about. We're talking about northwestern Oklahoma. You can see Woodward there. You can see Fairview. And again, you can see Enid there on the right-hand side of the screen. So we're talking about northwestern Oklahoma. I'm zooming in here to Major County. And this storm is not tornado warned, but I tell you what, it's a rotating storm. And the rotation is working its way down now from the mid-levels. And you can actually see the hook here. You can also see the large hail core as well. And this is what we're talking about. So this is the hail core right in here. So this is the rear flank downdraft back in here coming around. That's what's giving us the hook right there. And so this storm, it's wrapped up. So if nothing else, this storm, at least right now, is going to pose a very large hail threat. And so right now it's over a very open rural area. There's no immediate hometowns that it's moving through, but over the next 30 minutes, Fairview, you folks are in the immediate path of this storm, again, as it does continue to track off to the east and to the northeast. But that's a big hail core. When you're seeing blacks going to whites right there, there could be an opportunity for some tennis ball size hail. We've got the inflow notch, we've got the rear flank downdraft coming around, we've got the hook coming around, and again, right now, this is a rotating storm. Let's go to the hail core tracker. And again, there it is. So you see the pinks, the reds, the whites, the grays, and again, we're essentially, after that, you're off scale. There's no additional colors left. So this is large hail. And again, in general, this is also going to be tracking up towards the Oriana area, even Clio Springs. That's going to be the eastern sides there of Major County. But again, for you folks in those areas, heads up on this storm here. And again, like I said, there is some fairly vigorous rotation mixing in with this one here as well. And again, it is kind of starting to work its way down just some from the mid-levels. So again, we're looking at our spin rate right there. Again, rotation working its way down some there from the mid-levels. But at least right now, the immediate threat with this storm, it is the large hail. And again, as you look at that, that looks fairly impressive. You see the hook right there. And even with the new sweep coming in there, hook looking even more impressive. And again, you're seeing the blacks and the whites on radar. And I can tell you right now, anytime you see black on a weather radar, you know it's something serious. And in this case right now, it's serious because it's large hail. Again, right now, again, the good part of this is that it's in a very, very rural area. You can never say there's not an immediate house that it's moving through, but there's not an immediate hometown. Clio Springs, Oriana, Fairview, Highway 412, eventually, yes, that's where this is tracking. And again, this is a beefy supercell. This is what you could call a beefy supercell. Large beef hail core right there. You see it again with the blacks and the whites. Again, rear flank downdraft coming around. There's the hook. That's the warm air feeding in right there. And again, when you see that in Oklahoma, it's always a little bit concerning. Right now, there's not an immediate tornado threat. But again, we got to watch this one here second by second, especially for our friends up there in eastern portions of Major County. Let's go back to velocities here. And again, as we do that, low-level velocities here, not at this point looking super impressive. And there's a brand new tornado warning. So they did just go and issue a tornado warning on that. So that is going to be a brand new tornado warning there for Major County. And again, this is the storm we've essentially been tracking over the last several minutes. And so this brand new tornado warning, as soon as we get it populated here, the Weather Service just now issuing it. And Mike, you heard that, right? So you're going to be heading, I guess, back to the west there. So this is going to be a tornado warning until 7:30. And again, this is going to be for Major County. And again, this is going to include Fairview, and it is going to include the Oriana area. The folks in those areas, if you have friends, family, loved ones in those areas, a fairly rural part of the state, again, you've got to be taking your immediate tornado precautions, and you got to be doing it right now. Velocity is looking a little bit raggedy, but as we take a look at our spin rate product, this is essentially showing us exactly where the area of spin is, and there it is right there. There it is right there, boom. So the red going to the green right there, a little bit of yellow mixing in as well. There's the area of spin right there. So that's the area of concern. And again, we're getting a strong indication here on radar, again, even just the structure of the storm, that again, this is trying to produce some type of a tornado genesis. And so again, tornado warning, I just want to reiterate this one more time. Again, this is going to be for Major County in northwestern Oklahoma. And again, Orienta and Fairview, Highway 60 all the way up to Highway 412. You folks in that area, again, immediate tornado precautions. Again, if you have friends, family, loved ones who live in that area, again, you want to call them, make sure they understand they're under a tornado warning. Some of those rural areas, the sirens don't always sound, or there may not be sirens, or they may not, again, have a way to get the warning, so to speak. So again, if you do have loved ones, friends in that area, again, make sure you're calling them and letting them know right away. Real quick on the live line here, I know we've got Mike on the live line. Real quick, Eric, let me know where you guys are. I don't know how close you are to this storm or if you're still back to the east, but let me know real quick here where you guys are. Okay, maybe we've lost Eric. Do we still have Mike on the live line?
William, this is Eric. You got me. We are on 132 heading south. We're just going past Carrier, Oklahoma right now, trying to get ourselves in a position to head west and intercept this thing.
Okay, gotcha. We're going to check back with you in 1 second, Eric, only because you're just a little bit further over to the, you're just a little bit further there over to the east. Mike, are you still on the live line with us? Okay, we're going to check back with Mike. We got the team of trackers up there. We're going to check back with them momentarily. The one thing you have to remember, this specific area of the state, again, it is fairly rural. That's the one, at least, piece of good news with this warning, is that it is not immediately going over any direct hometown. But again, I just want to underscore one more time that, again, this is a brand new tornado warning up here. And again, this is for Major County in northwestern Oklahoma. And again, this tornado warning here is in effect until 7:30. So here's the very latest here. So again, this is the storm. Again, Major County being right here, northwestern Oklahoma. Woodward would be right back over in here. Again, team of trackers now approaching the storm from the east. They're coming in on 412, so they're going to be approaching this fairly quickly. Now, western Major County, this is the only piece of good news that we have to pass along with this tornado warning, because western Major County here, it's fairly rural, and that would be the good news right there. So between Orion and between Fairview, there's not a lot of hometowns. It's a fairly open area of the state. So again, the tornado warning currently, where at least the area of concern is right now, it's in a fairly open, unpopulated, eventually no hometown in the area. But again, that will change. Again, as this continues to track towards the east, again, even back up towards Clio Springs and all the way down through the Fairview area there as well. Again, in general, if the storm again does hold its current intensity, again, that right there, you folks again would be under the gun, so to speak, with this storm. Let's go back to the spin rate product here. And as we do that, again, I know this looks a little bit weird, but again, we're seeing the red and kind of the little sliver of green right there. Again, that's where at least the indication is that we are getting the area of spin there. And you can see it's going to be approaching Highway 60 again over the next 30 minutes or so. Again, if the storm does hold its current intensity. And again, as we go back to velocities here, you can definitely see exactly where the area of spin is. It's right back in here. And so where the reds are going to greens, right back in here, this is a fairly well-pronounced area of spin. And the storm's been moving fairly slow, but it seems like it's accelerating just some now. It's accelerating just some now as it's turning a little bit more to the east. A lot of times these storms, they will anchor and turn a little bit more to the right. You can see the previous severe thunderstorm warning had the motion more to the northeast. You see that box right there. But again, as this storm is now tornado warned, it's anchoring, it's turning to the right. The warning, the tornado warning, again goes more towards the east and again towards that Highway 60 corridor, and again including the hometowns there of Fairview, and then also back up, really back up through the Orienta area there as well, again in portions of a central Major County. But again, a fairly strong indication now on radar that again the storm either did or it was trying to produce some type of tornadic activity. Again, as we kind of center this back up here, And again, I'm just looking at the storm tracker feeds there as well. We have storm trackers essentially closing in from the east on this storm. Now, as we're kind of analyzing this in real time, I can tell you just over the last, we'll call this 10 minutes or so, the hook, it's basically starting to come back in. And a lot of times what will happen is these storms will occlude or they'll kind of cut themselves off. So this is the inflow, the motion into the storm, the warm air feeding into the storm. This is the rear flank downdraft coming around on the back side of it right there. Okay, so that a lot of times is where the area of concern is. If there was any type of tornadic activity, it would be right back up in here. But a lot of times the storms will begin to cut themselves off on fairly marginal days like we're seeing out there today, and that hook will actually come back around. And again, really over the course of, we'll say 5 minutes or so, it can actually cut itself off, and at times that can alleviate the immediate tornado threat. Not saying that's what's happening, but again, we're going to track this in real time. You can also see the hail core getting just a little bit smaller as well. Again, where we had a lot of black, where we had a lot of white on the radar, that simply is no longer the case. We're now getting some pinks, and again, the storm itself looks like there is at least a bit of a weakening trend. So again, with all that being said, that doesn't take away from the tornado warning. Again, that's just us analyzing this storm in real time. But again, Fairview all the way back over through the Oriented area. Again, you folks have got to be taking your immediate tornado precautions. And just as we said that at least appeared there was a bit of a weakening trend. Again, with the new sweep that just came in, the storm actually looks like it's potentially re-intensifying, and it doesn't look like now at all that it is occluding at all. In fact, the hook still looks just as strong as it did maybe 5 minutes ago. Let's go back to velocities here. And again, as we're looking at velocities here, I'm going to kind of step this up just a little bit through the cloud base here. And so we still have a broad area of spin. And as we take a look at our spin rate product, we're getting a stronger indication now on radar. In fact, even with that last sweep that came in, a much stronger indication than just a few minutes ago that, again, this is at least trying to produce some type of tornadic activity. The red going to the bright green, that's a strong signature here on radar that, again, there could be some type of tornado genesis. So again, if there was some type of tornadic activity currently happening, it would be right back up in here. But again, the concern is this storm is now accelerating as it's moving to the east towards that Highway 60 corridor. So that's the concern right now. It's in an unpopulated area, but it's going to be moving towards some hometowns again fairly quickly. I believe we've got Mike Russ back on the live line. Mike, are you on the line with us?
Yes, William, I am.
Mike, go and tell us where you guys are now. I know you're approaching from the east, but go ahead and tell us where you are right now. Again, it looks like, just from all indications on radar, it looks like we have at least possibly some tornado genesis here in progress.
Yes, William. We are going to be east or west of Enid right now here on 412. And William, I can tell you this storm, the whole thing is a mesocyclone. The whole thing has striations even in front of it that are spinning right now. And at this time, I mean, this whole storm looks to be spinning right now. We can't see the wall cloud as of yet, but we're closing in on it very quickly. So we are running that way, and we will try to get you a report and a visual as soon as we can, William.
Okay, Mike, really appreciate that update. Yeah, stronger indications on radar here, folks, that again, the storm is trying to produce, again, some type of tornadic activity. And again, the only other piece of maybe not so good news, again, minus talking about a tornado warning here, is that before the storm was moving fairly slow, it was almost drifting to the northeast, but the storm is now picking up speed as it's anchored and turned towards the right. It's now accelerating now towards Highway 60. So again, I just want to stress one more time, you folks there in Fairview, all the way back up through Orienna, you've got to be taking your tornado precautions. And again, if you have friends, family, or loved ones, again, who even live in that area, again, you've got to be, calling them, texting them, absolutely making sure they understand that they do need to be taking tornado precautions. Again, this easily could be producing some type of tornadic activity right now. And again, even with the newer sweep coming in there, still a strong indication of at least some type of tornadic activity. The hook looking just a little bit more raggedy than what it did, again, maybe just a minute or two ago. But again, I just want to highlight the hometowns here again: Orienna, Fairview, Highway 60, Highway 412, general motion now to the east, accelerating to the east. So again, this is Major County up in northwestern Oklahoma. Let's go back to the spin rate product here. And again, we have a storm tracker just to the east of this. So again, he's closing in on it. And as soon as they're there, again, we'll go and take their video live as well. And Mike, as soon as you kind of get in range, just let me know if you're starting to see. I'm looking at your video here as well, but if you're seeing anything on your end, just let me know. So here it is. Again, this is the area of spin. You see the bright reds and the bright greens coming together. This is what we call a couplet. And so this right here is the area of concern. And so overall, right through here, that's the area of spin. And again, just like we saw there in our spin rate product as well, the general motion, like I mentioned, is towards the east. So let's go to the spin rate product. And as we do that, I know this looks a little weird. It looks a little bit different than normal radar. But again, we're seeing the reds going to greens. And especially if we start to get any yellows to show up on here, especially if we get any yellows to show up on here, that would be a very strong indication that, again, there could be some type of tornadic activity happening. But again, this is not a storm to take lightly. And again, up there around the Orienta area, all the way down through Fairview, again, don't take this lightly. Again, just want to underscore over and over that, again, you do need to be taking your immediate tornado precautions. We've already had one tornado earlier in the day. That was over in Osage County, and it was a quick tornado. It was just west of the Pawhuska area. But again, there was at least one confirmed tornado earlier in the day. But again, there's still a lot of strong indications here on radar that, again, this storm is, again, still trying to produce some type of tornadic activity. There's a view from one of our storm trackers. Again, he's just east of it. He's been racing there towards the west to the east of the storm. And again, Mike, we're still looking at your video. Go ahead and give us a quick update as you're closing in on the storm. Give us a live update.
Yes, William. As we're starting to see more and more definition of this storm, we're in the Lahoma area now. We are running as fast east as we can right now because we want to ground verify for the towns that are in the way of the storm. But as we get closer and closer, we're seeing more and more of the detail, William. We are seeing that the storm it appears even on the front edge, the leading edge, to be jam-packed with rotation. Now, that's just almost every supercell in the state spins, William. We know that. But this one, you can see it in the different layers, the striations. And I kind of pan the camera over. You can
Mike, and I hate to interrupt you. I just want to pass this along real quick, and I hate to interrupt you, but the rotation here it's intensifying. And so, you know, again, this may or may not necessarily be on the ground right now, but the indications that it's trying to produce a tornado is getting stronger. And in fact, even on velocities here, the indications on velocities are actually coming up. In fact, this is really the most impressive that it's looked since the warning's been issued. And so this is a strong indication here that there's at least some type of tornado genesis trying to happen. And I didn't mean to interrupt Mike right there, but again, we just want to really stress for our friends, you know, they're in Fairview and back over through the Orienta area, that again, you've got to be taking your immediate tornado precautions, and you got to be doing it really right now. This storm is only intensifying. There's a view right there from Mike, again, as they're closing in there from the east. And Mike, again, that is the storm right there in the foreground we're kind of looking at, again, as you're closing in on it there. There's all indications on radar here is that, again, the storm is not weakening right now at all. And in fact, there's some indications that it's actually strengthening. That would not be good, again, as it's approaching Highway 60, again, approaching some hometowns there at Fairview and also Orienta. But again, as you're closing in on it, you're our eyes in the field there. Again, I didn't mean to interrupt you a second ago, but again, go ahead and give us another live update on this storm.
We're punching east extremely quickly here. But William, this storm here, we can see even on the front edge, the whole storm is rotating. It is a very typical mesocyclone storm here in northwestern Oklahoma. We're not seeing too far into it yet. We're punching east as fast as possible. We've got our game plan set where we can actually get on it here and be able to get you guys a good shot into the storm. But this storm definitely looks very mean from the ground.
Hey Eric, I see your GPS there as well, Eric, and it looks like you guys are coming down there from the north. Where are you guys at now, Eric Hobbs? I see you're dropping down from Goldtree. Where are you guys at right now?
Yeah, William, we're heading west on 45, and we just entered Goldtree.
Yes. Okay. So I've got your GPS. So you're right there as well. You're going to have to drop a little bit further to the south. But again, we've got two storm trackers that will be there essentially in a matter of minutes. But again, I can tell you folks that this, again, you know, you never want to say it looks like it continues to intensify, but it really does here on radar look like it does continue to intensify. Unfortunately, the area of spin continues to look just a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger here. So again, not necessarily even saying it's on the ground, but if it's not on the ground, it could be, again, ramping up and really trying to produce some type of tornado genesis, you know, fairly quickly. So fairly quickly here. And in fact, we're also getting reports of golf ball size hail coming out of the storm here as well. But we're just going to kind of stick with the video. And Mike, I've got you there on 60 closing in as well. So you guys are both kind of closing in on the storm there with your live GPS location. Let's go back to radar here just real quick. And as we go back to radar, and again, we'll just kind of do this. Let's go back to velocities. And again, with the very newest scan just now coming in, again, right now we've still got a fairly strong indication of exactly where the area of spin is. And again, it's going to be approaching Highway 60 there, again, basically from Orienta all the way back down through Fairview. Again, right now it's not necessarily over any hometowns. That's been the good news so far with this storm, that again, it has not been impacting, again, any hometowns. But again, the bad part of this is that it is going to change. So again, if the storm does hold its current intensity, then again, as it approaches Highway 60, there could be some hometowns that could be impacted by this storm. There's the spin rate product, and again, we're getting a real strong green there. And so again, the way this product here works, greens, not so good if you start getting yellows and beyond. That's when the computer is, you know, pretty well verifying that there's some type of tornadic activity. Green, it's still kind of at that cusp of it could go either way, but at least there's a strong area of spin, a strong area of rotation there as well. So we're going to go back to Mike's video here momentarily, again, as they're closing in there from the east. But again, here it is. Again, this is the hook. And again, if you've lived in Oklahoma very long, you know exactly what this is. Big hail core here. This is a supercell. And so this is where the warm air is basically feeding up into the storm. Area of spin, because the storm is spinning, it suspends the hail core, so the hail gets even larger. So big hail core here, rear flank downdraft coming around. And again, that's where we have the hook, and that's also where we have at least the potential for some type of tornadic activity. Strong indication on radar that this storm is trying to produce some type of, again, tornadic activity as it approaches Highway 60 there between Orienta and Fairview. So again, for the folks in Orienta and Fairview, you want to be taking your tornado precautions. Let's go back to the video here. And again, with Mike closing in there from the east, I do believe. Is that correct, Mike? I think you guys, are you pulling into a gas station, or we may need to go back to Mike momentarily, or they may be just turning around. I'm not totally sure what's going on. But Mike, you're on the live line.
We just turned around.
Okay, go ahead and give us a live update and tell us exactly where you guys are now and give us an update.
Yeah, so we're trying to cut south so we can get to the Highway 60 corridor here and get on the storm effectively here. But we're going to be here in the Mino area right now. So that's where we're at this moment. But we can still see the storm. We're still watching it. It's still
Mike. If you, I'm not sure, but you need to still be going west. If you're in Mino, you need to be going due west on 60. You are on 60, and you should be going due west if possible. You can go all the way down to Clio Springs, and then cut down to the south, and you can actually go through all the way down to Fairview. If you're able to do that. So if I was you, I would still go due west on 60, and I would get to Clio Springs and drop to the south, again, if at all possible there. Otherwise, I think you're just going to be a little too far removed from the storm, because it's going to be too far back to your west. So again, if that's possible, that's what I would do. Mike, they're essentially right there in the area. We need them just to get just a little bit further to the west, so we can actually get kind of a visual confirmation of what's going on here. But again, if you get west on 60, the storm is still moving slow enough right this second that you could drop down Highway 60 out of Clio Springs. So again, if I was you guys, that's what I would do in your situation. Eric, where are you guys at? I know you're dropping in on this as well. I know you're in the Goldtree area, but tell me where you are now.
William, we're still headed west on 45. We got a good view of the storm here in the distance, and we can see a definite lowering.
Okay. On
this storm down to our southwest.
Okay, we're gonna pop your video up here as well. And so again, essentially, Eric here, he's just on the northern sides of the storm. Again, we essentially have two storm trackers here. We're just kind of battling some of the rural roads, so to speak. But again, we've got two storm trackers here in the area. And we're going to pull your video up right now as well, Eric. We're going to go and take a look at that. And again, we're still getting strong indications here on radar. You know, sometimes on kind of these marginal type days, you know, a lot of times you may get some brief tornadic activity, but it normally is not very long lasting. But this storm continues to cycle up, and it still continues to give us a fairly strong indication that, again, there is some type of tornado potential going on here. And so yeah, we've got your video coming in here, Eric. We're going to take a look at it. You may need to center your camera up just a little bit, but we're about to take a look at it here. We're just updating it, and we're going to take a look at it here. And as we go and punch this up here, there we go. There it is. So there's Eric's video. Yeah, and there it, man. So there's right. So there's the base, and you can see the bell structure. You can see the bell structure of the storm. But yeah, no, that's it right there. And even from that distance, because there's not a lot of haze, Eric, as the trees clear out, you should be able to get a pretty good visual of what's going on there. And so I know there's a lot of trees there kind of hindering the view and obstructing the view, but I mean, you've essentially got it there. And again, we can see it there in the distance. So his video may be a little in and out, hit and miss there, again, as he's going through some fairly rural areas. So we see it pausing and stopping. That's okay. It'll kick back in momentarily. There it is. And again, as soon as these trees clear out momentarily, yeah, so there, and let me show you, this is what I'm talking about here. So this is the structure of the storm. This is the base. This is the bell shape. Whenever you hear the bell, so just imagine a bell. This would be it right here. There's the base, and there it is coming right back up in here. And again, because there's the humidity and the dew points today are just a little bit lower, there's not a lot of haze, which would be fairly typical in May. And so again, as we're looking at this, without all the haze and all the extra humidity in the air, hopefully as he gets just a little bit closer, we'll be able to see back up in there. But again, Eric, from your vantage point, and again, you can see it a lot easier than me because you're right there. I'm sitting here in a studio. Again, give us a play-by-play. Tell us what you're seeing there on that storm.
Well, we turn to the south on 58 now, and you can definitely see a lowering. I'm not sure you're able to catch it in my video, but
we can see it, and so I know. So the trees are obstructing it from time to time, but we can see it. You know, again, it's just it's kind of one of those deals. It's a little hard at times to make it out on video. But again, as you're looking there at it, you know, through clear air in real time, sometimes it's a little bit easier from your vantage point. Now, let me ask Mike Russ as well, because Mike Russ is coming in there from the east, and we're going to check his video again momentarily. But again, Mike, if you have anything going on from your end, like I said, let us know as well. Again, if there's anything going on from your end, Mike, let us know there as well. Again, as you're closing in from the east. So, Mike, are you still on the live line?
Yes, I'm still on the live line.
Okay.
We're coming up from the east, William, and in our shot, we're kind of battling the same problem Eric is with the trees. But this is a very low wall cloud on the north side of it, William. It's very low.
We can see it. I've still got your shot up, Mike. I'm seeing your shot as well. And yeah, this is very well pronounced. And I'm telling you what, it's turning just a little bit more almost now to the south. You folks in Fairview, I just want to keep underscoring one more time, the immediate threat's going to go down towards the Fairview area. And so again, immediate tornado precautions for the folks down in the Fairview area. Let's go to Mike's video here real quick as well. Mike, where are you guys at now exactly? Have you cleared through the Ringwood area?
We are right here at Highway 58 as well. That is correct. We're going to be just to the east of Ringwood right now.
Okay.
I believe, I can't tell what town we're seeing in the distance here, if it's Ringwood or if that's Fairview. You can see their grain elevators, and they're right underneath that wall cloud right now, William.
Okay. Yep. So we see it. So we kind of have it covered here from both angles. And again, they'll be closing in on this again momentarily here. So again, we're basically kind of bobbling video, if you will, between two storm trackers. But I'm going to kind of look at radar here as well. Again, I just want to underscore one more time that the radar signature, I'm telling you, and again, I know I've said this over and over, but a lot of times on these kind of marginal days where it's not a real deal, or at least not a higher end tornado threat, a lot of times you'll get kind of these brief spin-ups like we had earlier up there in Osage County, and then the storms kind of weakened. But there were some dynamics, and we were aware of this heading into the evening. There were some dynamics in place where there would be an opportunity for a tornado or two. And again, this storm continues to give us a strong indication that, again, it is trying to produce some type of tornadic activity. And again, bear with us on the video here. I know it looks a little crazy. These guys are trying to get into position here as fast as possible. And again, they're doing it on the fly. And again, they're having to kind of adjust their camera just to keep this within view as well. Mike, you're still looking at the storm. I see your video here. You're coming in on it. Give us a live update. Tell us what you're seeing from your location.
Yes, William, we are here located just south of Highway 60 on 58. We've kind of pulled off into a safe area where we have a good escape path. Jesse, hold up here. Okay. He's moving down a little bit. We have a wonderful shot of the wall cloud right now. It is definitely a feeding wall cloud right now. We're going to go ahead and stop the truck and pan the camera in.
Let me also ask Eric, because Mike, and we're gonna, as soon as your video comes in range, it's just about 20 seconds delayed. We're gonna click to it. Eric, we're looking at yours, and again, we've got a good visual on it now as well. And I don't see anything on the ground from your vantage point. So there's the wall cloud, there's the tail cloud. They both essentially have the same shot. I'm going to switch to Mike. Well, actually, Mike, as soon as he centers it up there, we're going to take Mike's shot real quickly. As soon as they're just still moving there. And so we're going to take Mike's shot, but from here it does not look like there's anything on the ground. I don't know if you guys can confirm that from your vantage point, but this is what we're talking about right here. And we'll look at Mike's. We'll look at Mike's here in a minute as well. There's the wall cloud. This is the tail cloud. This is the inflow coming into the storm. This is the area of concern right back in here. This is the whole mesocyclone through here, but again, right back in here. And again, forgive us for the video. Like I said, these guys are trying to get into position there as fast as possible. Mike, we're going to your video now. If you can, center it up, and let's get the wall cloud in the shot. So we see the whole mesocyclone. You may need to zoom the camera out or something, but right now we can't really make heads or tails here of anything. So this would be the wall cloud right back in here on the back side. And if you can, Mike, it looks like it's maybe out of focus. I know you're trying to do all this on the fly, but if you can, just zoom it out as much as possible. Don't zoom it in, zoom it out as much as possible. And so we're going to check. Let me see if Eric's is back in here. And okay, let's go back to Eric's video here. And so again, we're just kind of taking this in real time because this is important information for the folks obviously who live in this area. So Eric, it looks like you have a clear vantage point of the storm. And again, from here, just looking at the video, again, it does not look like anything immediately is on the ground. It would be right back in here. And again, they're driving, so they're having to kind of tilt their camera. That's why we're not really able to get a great shot of it where they are. But Eric, what are you seeing from your vantage point?
Yeah, William, clear shot here, and actually it is getting lower and lower to the ground. The right side of it, as I look at it, started to drop. Anyways, it continues to get closer to the ground. It appears to be a lot of scud moving around it.
Okay, Eric, really appreciate that update there. I was talking to Mike. I think I kind of maybe confused Eric for just a second. I was talking to Mike there in his ear as well. And so, Mike, as we're looking at your video, I know you're centering up the shot. From your vantage point, what are you seeing right now? Again, from here, it does not look like necessarily there's anything on the ground. But just like Eric said, it does look a little bit lower and a little bit lower. And the radar is still giving us a fairly strong indication. So tell us exactly where you are. If you can, pan your camera to the right just a little bit and give us a live update.
Yes, William, we're going to be about 2 miles south of Highway 60 right now. I believe we're going to be just to the east of Ringwood. We've kind of focused our camera here. Bear with us as it catches up. But I agree with Eric 110%. This has gotten a lot lower than it was. We are seeing rotation on it right now. This is still a very intense developing situation out here, William. We do not see any funnels or anything on the ground at this time. But the other concern I'm seeing here is I'm starting to see the rain try to take on the north side of this wall cloud here. So that definitely brings a different aspect into it that, you know, is very dangerous. But right now we do not see anything on the ground. It is a lower wall cloud than it was even as we were pulling up here. But again, this is still a very intense situation. Do not let your guard down on this storm.
Okay, so this is the wall. This is what Mike's talking about, right? So, okay, so it's over here on the right-hand side of your screen. This is the wall cloud here. You can see some little clouds kind of floating around there. That's the scud cloud, and the inflow to the actual storm is actually right back over in here. But again, this is the actual wall cloud right here. So again, you can actually see the clear air. There it is, Mike's. Okay, here we go. Now we're talking. So we're centering it up now. And so again, you can actually see the clear air in there. But again, this is fairly low to the ground. This is fairly low to the ground. So obviously the wall cloud does not come down and touch the ground to have a tornado, but you have to look for any kind of little vortice mixed in there. And again, that's what we're looking for. So we're looking kind of through that clear air to see if we can even see a spin up, number one, or to see if we can actually see any type of, again, vortex condensate coming down and actually spinning up. So that's what we're looking at in this specific zone right there. It's a little hard to do through TV here, but again, with the guys in the field, they're able to get a better vantage point, and this is where the inflow is coming into the storm, right back in here, and this is all, this bell, all you see through there, that's all the mesocyclone spinning around there. But again, the area of concern is just that small little area, the wall cloud right there. Eric, I know you're still on the live line. You're getting a little bit closer there. Give us an update as well.
We're getting ready to turn to the west on 60, 412 and 60. Doesn't, to me, from my vantage point, appear to be as close to the ground as it was. But I do agree with Mike that the it was in a very rain-free base, but the rain seems to be pulling the rain in toward it. So that might be a big concern for those out in that area if it happens to become rain-wrapped. But I can't quite get a good picture on it. We got a lot of trees in the way right now.
Right, I'm looking at your video. Yeah, there are a lot of trees right there in your general area. So we're back on the line now with Mike Russ. Again, we're looking at Mike's video. He is just to the west of this storm. And again, right now we're basically looking at the wall cloud. And again, Mike has a better vantage point than us. We're having to look through it through a TV, obviously. But again, Mike is basically looking right through the wall cloud. And again, here on radar, there's at least some temporary indications, Mike, that this storm is maybe spinning down just some. In fact, with our spin rate product here, the spin is coming down just a notch here in the studio. Now, again, that could be for a moment in time, or that could be a big sigh of relief for some people. The tornado warning continues regardless. But again, from your vantage point there, what you're looking at, what are you seeing?
Yes, William. Exactly what Eric was saying, and I was saying earlier, it does appear that maybe it's not as close to the ground as it was. It's kind of a little bit scraggly, but the rain has kind of encompassed that wall cloud area, that extreme lowering. But we continue to watch it. This is still a very developing situation. We're watching this extremely heavily, William, because I do not believe the storm is over yet. It's still organizing. It falls apart, reorganizes. And this one, it definitely appears to be in a cycle right now, William.
It is, and let me show you this on radar. So as Mike's saying, it's looking a little more rain wrapped, and it looks like the wall cloud. I'm going to click on radar here in a second as well. How it looks like the wall cloud is a little less defined, and our clear slot that we were trying to look into is a little less defined. See that right there? There's a scud cloud. See that scud right over there? So that's rising motion into the storm. But see how it's less defined? As we go back to radar here, I'll show you. We're also seeing that here on radar. So as the hook, it's actually coming around. It might be occluding at this point in time, but as opposed to having a nice clean hook and a nice clean inflow area, see how it's kind of waning in on itself, and this hook is kind of spinning up in on itself. So the wall cloud, the area of concern, there is rain basically coming back in on it. So what we're seeing in real time there with Mike, we're also seeing that on radar. So again, we don't have that well pronounced, and look at that, there it is. The new sweep came in. See how the hook is spinning up in on itself? This storm is occluding, and as we look at Mike's video, the wall cloud that we saw just so perfectly, I'm looking at his video right now, it's going to be all rain. We're not going to see the wall cloud anymore. The hook is just wrapped up in on itself. The storm has occluded, and what that means at this point in time, the tornado potential at this point in time, not to take away from the warning, is easing down just some. It's easing down a notch. This storm could cycle right back up. The warning is still in effect for at least one more minute. So we'll continue to see what that holds. But again, this storm continues to track towards the Fairview area. Mike, from your vantage point, what are you seeing now? Again, we just kind of analyzed it on radar. Is that essentially what you're seeing in the field as well?
Were you talking to Eric, Mike? William?
No, Eric, go ahead. Whoever's on there. I know, Eric, you're right there as well. Go ahead. Go ahead, Eric, and give us an update.
From this vantage point right now, it's completely rain wrapped, but it does look like it's trying to recycle and maybe produce another wall cloud.
Okay. And when these occlude, that's exactly. So we call it a life cycle. And by the way, we have a report of some 2-inch hail. So we've got some tennis ball size hail. Reports of tennis ball size hail now here as well. So again, when we say occlude, it's a cycle. So you know, as a storm comes up, the very end of that current life cycle, it occludes. It wraps up in on itself, and again, it could start a new life cycle where again creates an additional hook. And in fact, we've now got a report of baseball size hail. We've got a report of baseball size hail right there on Highway 60. And by the way, Eric, I don't know if you guys are dropping south on Highway 60, but we just got that report of baseball size hail. So definitely keep that in mind. Again, if you are dropping south there on Highway 60, we're going back to Eric's video here momentarily. And again, I think as soon as we did that, it's basically all blocked by trees. So this warning is essentially expiring right now. We're going to see what the Weather Service decides to do. We're going to cut back over to Mike's video. We'll see if they decide to extend the warning or if they decide to let it go ahead and expire. But right now, they're going to let it expire. So again, the tornado warning right now for Major County, it has been dropped. Let me go back to radar here. And so we've essentially, as we were tracking this storm, even before the warning was issued, we were on here live, and we essentially tracked this storm through an entire life cycle where, you know, we kept highlighting, we see a developing hook, we see an area of concern happening. That was kind of the beginning of the life cycle. Then the warning was issued. We saw the warning, we saw the wall cloud, we saw the scud associated with the wall cloud, never confirmed touchdown or anything. So we were tracking that, and then we saw as the storm began to occlude, or the hook actually wrapped up in on itself, the storm essentially ate itself, and we saw the rain curtains come around. We saw that live with the video, so that's a complete life cycle. That doesn't mean it's done. It could mean that it's done, but we may see a new life cycle now develop. We're going to be watching for an additional hook to see if that develops. But again, that was an entire life cycle of a supercell that you just watched here live, again, with our team of trackers and also on radar there as well. But let's go back to our trackers here, and we're going back to some video with Mike, first of all here. Mike, I know you guys, it looks like you're getting pretty rural there, again, trying to, you know, get your eyes directly on this thing. But again, right now it's occluded for this moment in time. Go ahead and give us an update from your vantage point and tell us what you guys are seeing out there. Mike, if you're on the live line. Okay, let's go to Eric. I know Mike and Jesse, they may be a little too rural there. We may have lost them momentarily. Eric, we're looking at your video anyway. You're closing in on this cell. Again, you thought that maybe this was trying to recycle a little bit, but as you're looking at this, again, we're just kind of having to take your video as it comes in. I know it looks a little bumpy, but they're literally having to turn their camera on the fly. Again, they can't just leave it mounted, you know, shooting straight, because again, they're trying to shoot into this storm. But again, as you're now approaching it, Eric, go ahead and give us another update, and also let us know about any of that hail, because again, we've had some reports now of tennis ball size hail along Highway 60 just north of Fairview. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. Currently, we're headed west on 412. We've picked up some moderate precipitation. We haven't encountered any hail yet, and any sign of the wall cloud or even the tail end of the storm is blocked from our view by rain. Or can't see it here.
Okay.
Hoping maybe come out on the other side of this, be able to get another view of it.
Okay, we're going to check in with Mike here as well. Eric, really appreciate that update. Good job on that right there. I'm going to give a radar overview here momentarily, but before I do that, I want to just check back in with Mike. They're a little bit in and out. They're fairly rural right there, south of Ringwood now, looking at this storm. Mike, from your vantage point, are you able to, again, kind of assess it and see, again, if there's any kind of a new life cycle developing with this storm?
Yes, for some reason, William, it's a little bit high base we're seeing, but the whole draft itself is, the best way to put it is it looks like a barber's pole here. That's the best way to, but I can describe it in a moment until our shot gets into you here and you can see what we're seeing. But at this time, we don't see an aggressive lowering. We're trying to reposition so that we can get on this properly here and try to get a little better shot where we're not obstructed by a bunch of trees and stuff here, William.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell you this. I can tell you this real quick, Mike. There's still a real broad area of rotation here. It's nowhere tight. This is mid-level rotation, but the mesocyclone is still there. And so we're going to watch this. And I don't mean to interrupt you. We're coming right back to Mike. But again, as we've been talking about the life cycle here and these storms regenerating, the mesocyclone is still there and it's strong. And we're getting indications of that, number one, with the hail. But I just looked at the velocities inside of it. And it will be very interesting to see this little back end appendage. This is so inflow coming into the storm. This is the rear flank downdraft here, and we'll see if that rear flank downdraft comes back around and we have a new hook and a new life cycle. So the storm doesn't look quite as healthy as it did, maybe 20 minutes ago when we had the warning and everything going on. But we really got to watch that back end and see if that rear flank downdraft comes back around and we have another hook develop. Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Let's go back to your video. And again, you're right there on the scene. Go ahead and give us an update.
Yeah, we're coming a little bit farther east here. William, I can tell you, even on the mid-level storm, we are still seeing a lot of rotation here as these trees. We're trying to get, that's the big issue we're having is all these trees up here. But again, this storm is still spinning at high state at the moment from what we're seeing. But the whole storm itself is still spinning. And it's a fairly aggressive spin up in the middle layers here that we're seeing, William. But this storm doesn't look like it's over yet. But we're not seeing any imminent tornado threat at this moment. Again, if I were in the path of this storm, I would go ahead and take my tornado precaution just in case we continue to storm up real quickly tonight. And that's exactly what we're looking at here and watching and seeing if it does recycle back up here, William.
Okay, and I think we're losing Mike just a little bit. And I'm still looking at radar here while we're looking at the video there. And I apologize. Again, I know the video looks a little raggedy coming in. But again, these guys are kind of doing the best they can on the fly. Again, trying to keep their cameras positioned up. And again, try and get a shot of the actual storm. I think Mike's video maybe is out of range. There's Eric Hobbs's video. And again, he's kind of repositioning his camera on the fly. Again, as they turn on a road, he's kind of repositioning it, but they're essentially right there. They're right there on the storm. Now, from here, it looks like there's a strong weakening trend, and hopefully this is good. There's still some big hail up in here. There's easily, and again, we had a report of baseball-sized hail north of Fairview, right there on Highway 60. There's still some big hail right now, but it looks like the overall health of the mesocyclone is it's not as good, and this is good. It's not as good as it was, again, maybe 20 minutes ago or so. Eric, you're right there as well. Eric Hobbs, we're actually looking at your video. And tell us where you are now. Are you still traveling down Highway 60? Tell us where you are and give us another update on this storm. And I tell you what, as soon as I said that, as soon as I just said the mesocyclone does not look quite as healthy, let me show you this as well, because again, this is what we have to do. We have to verify what the storm trackers are seeing with what we're seeing on radar, and look at the curvature. And this just could have to do with the mid-level area of spin, the strong mesocyclone that's still there, but we're just waiting to see if there's another appendage or another hook that redevelops. But look at the curvature of this just within the last two sweeps that have come in. There's the curvature trying to redevelop. So again, you can see the storm is spinning. Whether that translates down a little bit further to the surface with maybe a regenerating hook over the next 20 minutes or so, that's something we got to track. But again, this is still a fairly dynamic situation. So Eric, let's go back to your video. And again, I know you guys, it's rough. Your video's kind of raggedy coming in. You're doing the best you can there, again, making it happen. But give us an update on the storm and also tell us exactly where you are there as well.
Yeah, William, we just turned on to West 60 off of Highway 412. So we're headed, I guess, toward Fairview right now. Not able to see much still. It's still wrapped in rain, although it appears that there may be a small inflow feed. Looks like a small beaver tail up there. those trees clear out of the way. Might be able to see it. There you go. And that's going in toward the center of the storm.
Okay, Eric, and we may have lost you there just momentarily. So again, these guys are doing the best they can out there. So we're just kind of analyzing all this in real time. And so again, that's Eric's Hobbs video. Mike and Jesse's video, it's a little bit in and out. They're right there as well. Again, you can see their video kind of spinning there. It's a little bit in and out. So we're going to continue to check in again with the team of trackers. And again, there's a Mesoscan radar, live radar. So we've got to really track this on radar as well. And again, right now the tornado warning was allowed to expire as of 7:30. So again, no longer a tornado warning in effect for Major County. That's the good news. But again, right now the question mark, as is always with these supercells, once they complete a life cycle, will they spin back up? Is there any chance of them spinning back up? And that's really what we're watching right now, to kind of watch the structure and to watch the velocities within the storm to see if there's any dramatic changes that lead us to believe that it's cycling back up. So that's what we're doing right now. And again, other than just kind of the curvature of the storm there as far as velocities go, no immediate low-level rotation. So let me go and zoom this out. And I think we finally got Mike's video back up, kind of back in range there. And the hail core is getting a little bit smaller too, which is good. A lot of times a weakening hail core will let us know that the mesocyclone is maybe not as strong as it was. So that's good. We're not seeing as much black there on the radar. So that's a good sign. Mike, again, your video is still just a little bit in and out, but I think you're back on the live line with us here. I know you're still looking at the storm there point blank. Go ahead and give us an update from your location there as well.
Yes, William. We are at Highway 60 and 58 right now, the junction. We are right here with the mesocyclone right now. And William, I can tell you it is still spinning in the upper atmosphere. We're seeing a lot of greens now as well. But the base of this just isn't what it was earlier. That is for sure. When we first came on scene here, it was real low. This is very high based right now, but there's still a lot of rotation, a lot of rising motion. This storm is it's still here, William. It may be weakening right now, but I'm afraid it may be trying to cycle back up a little bit here. Yes, that is correct, William. We are seeing still an aggressive mid-level rotation, still very aggressive, but at this time we're not seeing the low level, not quite yet, but it does seem like it's taking on a little bit of a different shape here right in front of our eyes. And it's still definitely rotating. We are seeing that, but we're not seeing the low base wall cloud that we were earlier, William.
Yeah, we come around. We're actually in Fairview right now, and came around the backside of the storm. Can't really see a whole lot of rotation from this point. We see a lot of just clouds floating about. But actually, that looks like an updraft right there.
Okay, Eric. Really appreciate that to update. We're gonna check back in with Eric. He's got his eyes on it there as well. So we've got Eric Hobbs. We've obviously got Mike Russ looking at this storm here as well. And just like Eric said, there's maybe a bit of an updraft that he was just mentioning as we're looking at radar. Look what we have developing here. There's a little bit of an inflow notch developing here as well. And again, so these are things we got to take moment by moment. And again, even though the storm, it looks like on radar it's weakening, the hail core is going away. We were looking at Mike's video that, again, at least at the lower levels, looking extremely raggedy. But look at what's happening with the overall cell. Here's a new developing inflow notch. And you can actually see it. So here's the precipitation right here. Here's the actual developing inflow. See that right there? That's actually going in. See how it's made a little area right there? It's like a little opening mouth. There it goes in. And so exactly what that entails, we'll have to see. Again, this is what when we talk about life cycles, could we be starting a new life cycle? Another interesting facet as we're looking at this, just to kind of show you the area of spin. This is hail up in here, but see how the hail is being spun almost like a centrifuge. See how it's spinning around in there? You can actually almost see a circle. That's the hail spinning inside the mesocyclone. And here's a new fresh breaking area of warm air coming into this. So will we see this start to expand and regenerate? And so that's the question. And that's what we don't know. And that's what we're going to have to see with this storm. And Eric, I hear you on the live line. I know you had mentioned that you see kind of that inflow area maybe redeveloping. Give us an update on that. Tell us exactly what you're seeing there.
It continues to just, it's really defined now. And also I wanted to let you know, it looked like we're heading toward a hail core.
Okay, and Eric, I think we're just losing Eric a little bit. I apologize for that. I think he's just on the backside of the storm, and so I heard something, but then I think we may have lost him there momentarily. You can obviously see Mike's video kind of spinning there a little bit as well. Keep in mind, Major County, it is very, very rural. We do have some very important hometowns that we care about there in Major County, but you get outside of them, and if you live up there, you understand there's really nothing else. There is nothing else around. And again, when you get out in some of these open areas, and again, you're trying to stream high definition quality video, and again, you're trying to talk on the phone and do things like that, it can become a little difficult. And again, we know that being up in Major County a lot every year. And so again, we're just, kind of doing the best we can there. Mike, if you're on the live line, I want to get your vantage point on this as well. I'm still watching radar. There's no immediate change on radar other than the fact we kind of have a redeveloping inflow notch. That may mean nothing at this point in time, but as we're kind of analyzing the storm, we're looking at your video there specifically. What are you seeing from ground level?
Yes, William. We are still here with rotation. It's still very high base, but we still see organized rotation on it. A lot of rising motion. In fact, I'm a little bit, we're not going to have to drop a little bit farther south so we can get a better shot. But right now, again, it's still very high based. We're not seeing any lower anything right now, but it is still spinning vigorously.
We may have lost Mike there just momentarily, but we got another report there of tennis ball size hail, and that's been fairly recent. So Eric Hobbs heads up on that as well for both of the storm tracking teams there. We're still getting large hail reports, and again, tennis ball size hail, that will knock out some windows, and we don't necessarily like our storm trackers to punch the hail core because, again, if they become disabled with their windows being blown out, there's really not much information they can pass to me and to you. So that's why we try to avoid hail cores, but we're still getting reports there of tennis ball size hail. That's recent. So still looking at radar here and still kind of analyzing the storm here in real time. Low levels still look extremely raggedy. Let's see, who do we have on the live line? Mike, or if you're back on with us, I know you were kind of right there in the middle of a report. If you're back on the line, we're still looking at your video, but we kind of want that ground level analysis where you are right there. Give us an update.
Yes, William. Again, we're going to be here at Highway 58 and Highway 60. We're not seeing. I'm actually seeing that the rotation may be actually coming down a little bit. It's still very high base. It doesn't look as pretty as it did a little bit ago. I don't know if it's cycling right now, but again, from the ground level, even the rotation may have just started coming down a little bit. Much like our storm earlier, where we had the rotation and it just kind of started slowing down. We're not seeing quite the striations we were, and we are extremely close to it, so we should be able to see it here, and we're just not seeing what we were as we came up on this storm, William.
Okay, really appreciate that update there, and really great job. Let's go back to radar, because we do have this hail core regenerating. And so, a lot of times a regenerating hail core can be a sign of an intensifying mesocyclone. And so again, we're not saying this in a way to keep people engaged, saying, hey, the storm may be cycling up, keep watching. It's nothing like that. But again, this is what we do with Supercells in Oklahoma. And I know we obviously have a lot of folks in Oklahoma watching us, but we get a lot of people from around the country and even around the world that watch our coverage on severe weather days like today. So we're not saying this, kind of promising, well, the storm may be re-intensifying to keep you engaged and watching. We're literally analyzing these storms, and this is what we do when we have severe weather here, and you can see it in front of your eyes where we basically had no black. Well, there's a redeveloping hail core. You see that right there? So hail core is coming back up. We still have this area of inflow coming right on into it, so the storm may or may not be completely done. And so that's why the storm trackers are still on it, and that's why we're still here live tracking this here as well. Let me go to the hail core tracker. And as we go to the hail core tracker here, again, you can still see that area of aqua going to yellow. So again, it's nowhere near as concerning as it was maybe 30, 45 minutes ago when we looked at it. But again, we did have a recent report of tennis ball size hail, and we've still got at least a fairly well organized hail core here as well. So again, like I said, this still bears watching, but I can tell you at the low levels, as we look at the velocities here, the low levels look extremely raggedy. And we're going to look at Mike's video. He's showing us the base of the storm as well. But again, when we say raggedy, it's all red and there's no greens. And I know that sounds basic, but that's essentially what we're looking for. We're looking for areas of spin where reds and greens come together. It's basically inflow and it's basically inbound and away bound air moving towards the radar, moving away from the radar. And at the lower levels, right now we are not seeing that. And so that's the good news. Now, again, can that change? It could change, but right now I think my general analysis, at least off of radar, is we've got a fairly strong weakening trend here. So will that hold? Will things change? That's what we got to continue to track, and that's what we got to continue to see. So let's see. I think we've still got Eric Hobbs on the live line, and if we've got Eric, we're looking at your video still here. So we've got Eric's video coming back in now as well. So Eric, you're looking at this. I know we've had a couple connection problems here, but let's see if we can make contact. And from your vantage point, tell us where you are and give us a live update.
Yeah, we're just past Mike. We just actually just passed Mike. We came through about some quarter-size hail just a few moments ago. Really quick little burst of hail. So we're still just to the very south end of the storm. I thought, like Mike did, that there was another lowering starting to form. It looks like we're just about right underneath it, though. If I can get my camera up there to see it.
Okay, so you're kind of stabling that up. We're looking at your video there. We're also going to look at Mike's video now. And again, Mike's video, it's just a little more in and out, but he's right there at cloud base. And Mike, you're right there. And again, the latest trends here on radar, again, continue to kind of slow this at least cycling down trend, of course, which would be good. That's what we have our fingers crossed here for. And in fact, even that hail core that kind of spiked up there momentarily, that hail core is starting to ease down as well. You're looking basically right at the structure of the storm. You're looking at basically the base there, the bell-shaped structure. And again, from your vantage point, what are you seeing with this storm? Again, on radar, the lower levels still look extremely raggedy.
Yes, William. I'm actually having to look up into it right now. That is actually how close we are, and I would never put myself or my team in any danger. So that kind of tells you right there exactly what we're looking at. We're still seeing clouds feeding into it, but the rotation has all but left, William. It's very much so a lot calmer of a storm than it was.
Okay.
The rotation has just immensely come down on this storm. We are, like I said, we're right underneath what was left of the wall cloud. Our spin rate is slowed way down, and it has all but lifted. It's very raggedy here, William.
Yeah, and that general trend is here on radar as well, and that's the good news. I want to go back to radar because for our friends up there in Woods County, we don't want to leave you guys out. There's no tornado warning, but there is a severe thunderstorm warning, and I just want to touch on this for our friends up there. Of course, we've been really focused in with this supercell that try to produce some tornadic activity, but up here around the Alva area, there is a severe thunderstorm warning, and this is a hailstorm here, and there's an opportunity at least for some $half size hail. This could push the golf balls there north of the Avard. And so this is going to be there in central Woods County. It's lifting to the north towards the Oklahoma-Kansas border. But again, if you're there in the Alva area, there easily could be some $half size hail moving in your area. So again, you folks up in that part of the state, heads up on that. And that's going to be tracking up there towards Highway 64. Highway 64 just west of Alva. Heads up, hailstorm there. That warning, then we also continue with what's left of the warning with our weakening supercell there in eastern Major County. I want to go down into southwestern Oklahoma. And for our friends down here, there's nothing severe, but there's a large area of rain and thunderstorm activity. And nothing severe currently in southwestern Oklahoma, but again, a large area of, again, general thunderstorms. There's some fairly vivid lightning there in Kiowa County, area. A lot of this activity, and then eventually towards Caddo County, and then eventually some of this activity even tracking towards the metro. But again, right now in southwestern Oklahoma, all of this is non-severe. It's all non-severe. It's just thunderstorm and rain. The biggest threat with that down there is the lightning. So keep that in mind. If for any reason you're outdoors, the lightning threat in southwestern Oklahoma. So here's what's left of our tornadic supercell. You can see on radar, this is not looking very healthy at all. In fact, the hail core has almost completely gone away. Let's take a look at the hail core tracker. And so there's the hail core. And so we were basically going from off-scale gray colors to now we essentially have some blue and some aqua. And I would say this is probably down to $half to maybe quarters. So the weakening trend with this absolutely continues. There's the live video looking at the storm. Mike Russ is on it. We've also got Eric Hobbs on it as well. We're going to check with Eric momentarily. But let's go to Mike. Mike, we've got your video up. It's still a little in and out. It's a little hit and miss. But if we've got you on the live line, go ahead and give us a live update. Mike, are you on the live line? If you are, go and give us a live update.
Mike is here.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. You're live.
We're repositioned here. We're still watching the storm just in case it does redevelop. But we're starting to get a little bit of overtaken with rain here. So we're going to go ahead and start moving and getting into a little better position for us here. But again, we're still seeing a weakening trend on the storm. But it's very impressive at this moment. But again, it's still worth watching because we've seen, before in Oklahoma where a storm can weaken and then come right back up. So we want to go, I'm trying to navigate as well. So we're wanting to stay on this storm and really watch it here and make sure that we don't have anything kind of redevelop on it here, William. But so far, all we're seeing is a weakening trend at this time.